All right, we should be live. Apologies for the minute wait. Had to go brew this coffee right up. So let's get into some questions. First one in here, we got Cody. He says, "Good evening, boys. Christian Kirk or Josh Downs full PPR? Give me Christian Kirk there, Cody. In my wide receiver rankings tomorrow, you'll see he's a top 20 option for me this week. Need two out of these guys, half point PPR. Deontay Johnson, Gabe Davis, Josh Downs, or Michael Wilson. I'm just going to go with the first two here with Deontay Johnson and Gabe Davis. Deontay Johnson sounds like with all reports, he will be healthy for the time being. So I would put him in my lineup. Let me just check no super chats. Okay, perfect. Also, Browns D or Saints D. I'm just not sitting the Browns D under really any circumstances. They look like one of those defenses that you can just trust year over year. PPR, Luke Musgrave or Cole Kmet, and Jacoby Myers or Christian Watson. So in terms of Musgrave or Kmet, I believe they're back-to-back in my rankings right now. I have Cole Kmet as my tight end 11 and Luke Musgrave as my tight end 12. So I would actually go with Cole Kmet there, Sharks. In terms of the second part of this question, I would go with Jacoby Myers this week. What's good, boys? How's y'all day doing? Appreciate that. Corey is actually at a birthday party, I believe, for his girlfriend's niece for the time being. So you will just be seeing me solo for today's stream. I'll try to go to about 8 p.m. That way I can get my lineup set, get ready for some football. But yeah, unfortunately, Corey will not be a part of the stream. Notice me, senpai. Notice me. Nice seeing D-Bell in the chat. Big shout out there. Big shout out. Sit one, Curtis Samuel, Michael Pittman, Rashid Rice, then Palmer or Michael Thomas. Thanks, Goats. Anytime there. This is relatively close. I will give, Curtis Samuel and Rashid Rice their flowers here. Michael Pittman's the clear one, in my opinion, out of this question. In terms of the other two, it's pretty close for me. I have Rashid Rice as my wide receiver 35 and Curtis Samuel as my wide receiver 39. So I would actually go with Rashid Rice there, Rolando. Pacheco, Puka, DK, need to flex one. I would definitely go with Puka Nacua there, Juan. Assuming it's half or full PPR. If it's standard, obviously go with the touchdown upside of Isaiah Pacheco. But again, any type of PPR, give me Puka. In a PPR league, start two wide receivers, Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper, Jordan Addison. Relatively close question. Let's see how I rank these guys real quick. So I would have Devontae Smith the highest of this group, Amari Cooper as the next highest at 19, and then Jordan Addison at 30 this week. Just kind of tough to trust that matchup against San Francisco. I'm a little bit nervous for that Vikings offense, but regardless, though, they're relatively close. I would say the wide receivers 18 to 30 this week. Honestly, is just kind of a pick a coin. Like, subscribe, guys. Appreciate that. 50 watching right now. Let's try to get to as many likes as possible on the stream. Thoughts on Sam Howell rest of the season? He's a fine, mid to low range quarterback 2 option, but he's not someone I want to be entering my lineup anything other than, bye weeks or potentially for an injury. I'm 4-2, and I'm trying to consolidate at wide receiver. I have DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, Jordan Addison, Nico Collins, Drake London, and Elijah Moore. 14 PPR. Any advice? Beach on all 3 Finns running backs. Josh Allen, Andrews are also on your roster. The guy that it's kind of tricky because obviously with the news of Justin Fields getting hurt, DJ Moore's stock does plummet because he would have been the guy that I would for sure sell of this list. Because you're kind of dealing with that, the next guy I would be maybe looking at is seeing if you could package, if maybe Kirk and Elijah Moore can get you up a tier at wide receiver. When I'm talking about up a tier, maybe you're looking at Kirk plus Elijah Moore. Can that get you close to Chris Olave? Can you get like in that fringe top 15 level range using those 2 players? Let me know how that goes. Howell, Lawrence, or Stafford this week? I'm still going with Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, the calf is a concern, but I'm a little bit worried about the other 2 regardless. So I have to drop 3 so I can pick up a defender, kicker, and Chuba. Can you rank your top 5 players drop from first to last? Algier, JSN, Judy, Najee, Charbonnet, Dubs, Downs, or Roshan. So if I'm ranking these guys in terms of priority for drop, I would say, Judy would probably be my 1. I'd probably go Roshan, Downs next. So those 2 next. And then you're looking at between Charbonnet, JSN, Algier, and Dubs. That's pretty, lateral for me. If you had to drop 3 of these guys go, my answer would be probably Romeo Dubs, Zach Charbonnet, and because you have a lot of running backs, I wouldn't mind dropping Algier, but the answer is probably JSN at this point. It's kind of tough. Those are relatively very lateral options, in my opinion. Bijan and Zay Flowers for Saquon and Garrett Wilson. I get Saquon and Garrett Wilson in full PPR. I wouldn't be wanting to trade Bijan Robinson at this point, to be honest. It's a pretty fair deal on the surface level, but I just think Bijan Robinson is by far the number one player here, Cabanos. Trade Brees and Judy for Keenan Allen. Other running backs are Bijan, Kamara, Pacheco, and my other wide receivers are Kupp, Amon, or St. Brown, Puka, and DK. I personally would hold. I think Brees Hall's value is going to keep spiking up. Obviously, had that big game. He looks really good. He looks the healthiest he's been all year, and he's starting to get a stranglehold on the snap share of that Jets backfield. If anything, I would see if Kamara has another big game, and maybe you could sell high on Alvin Kamara, because I would rather hold Brees and Bijan and then have Pacheco as my 3. Michael Thomas tonight or Rondale Robinson. Wandale Robinson, I'm assuming you mean. This is relatively close for me, honestly. I have Michael Thomas as my wide receiver 34 this week, and Wandale Robinson as my wide receiver 42. So I'd actually go with Michael Thomas, but like I said, relatively close in the rankings there, Jared. What do you think of Craig Reynolds this week? Half point PPR or Algier? It's kind of tricky to say. He's dealing with his own injury right now. I believe hamstring and toe injuries is what he's dealing with. We also have to know the status of Jahmyr Gibbs. If Jahmyr Gibbs plays, it's kind of tough because I would view them in relatively similar range. Assuming Craig Reynolds, there's no setbacks going in from his injury, I probably would lean there Craig Reynolds over Tyler Algier there, Mo. We got a super chat here from Seth. Appreciate that. He says, tight end stream, Logan Thomas, Luke Musgrave, Pat Freiermuth, or Tyler Higbee. I'd honestly go Musgrave tonight. Obviously, it's a little bit riskier right now because he hasn't really proven it throughout the year. But I think the athletic profile, I think the fact that Jordan Love just kind of needs an outlet at this point. He's kind of just been playing inconsistent ball these last couple of weeks. And not to mention the athletic profile of Luke Musgrave, I would go with. But Pat Freiermuth is relatively close. I just kind of want to see him command some more targets in that offense before I trust him. So we left off, I believe, at Mo. Let me just take a look. Where is Mo? Okay, here. Benjamin Lebowitz, he says, starting Pacheco and Gibbs in my running back spots and Hawkinson in my tight end spot. Who do I start in my flex, Laporta or Brian Robinson in the PPR? Honestly, I would just go with Laporta. I mean, his involvement right now has looked tremendous. It's tricky, though. I mean, they're very relatively similar options. I would prefer personally Laporta over Hawkinson for the record. But in a full PPR, I think I would just go with the safe target shares that those tight ends get. Also, KJ Osborne or Gabe Davis. Give me Gabe Davis there, Benjamin. Musgrave or Mayer, half PPR. Relatively close for me. Let me just see exactly where I have them. I believe I have Mayer 2 spots higher. Michael Mayer is my tight end 10 this week. Luke Musgrave is my tight end 12. So I'd prefer Michael Mayer there high. Sorry. There we left off. Josh Palmer or Deontay Johnson, full PPR. Give me Deontay there, Cole. Forced to start Ridley, even though I really don't want to. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough. You kind of just have to put him in your lineup as a wide receiver 2 at this point, because, I mean, the ceiling is massive. Like, he's got the peripherals. It's just a matter of time before, he just starts playing well. Rodhan and Debo or ETN. Rodhan. I'm a little. Oh, Roshan and Debo or ETN. I would just go with ETN there, Micah. It's looking like he could potentially be a league winner. Love what I'm seeing thus far from Travis Etienne. Boys, I was offered Goff and Deontay Johnson for Jerome Ford and Ridley. Thoughts? I would just keep Calvin Ridley there, to be honest, Figs. Give me Calvin. Gino or Stafford this week? Relatively close. Let me see where my rankings point. I believe I have Matt Stafford a little bit higher. Yeah, I have Matt Stafford a little bit higher than him. Let me just make sure. Actually, no, Gino's higher. Apologies, I missed him. Gino, I actually have a quarterback 7 this week. Matthew Stafford at 10, so it is close. I thought I had Stafford higher, but yeah, no, the matchup against Arizona, I'd actually go Gino there. Good question, though. Hope Shaheed Saints wide receivers does the best tonight. Yeah, I mean, hopefully he has a good night for you there, Josh. Hey, guys, traded Gibbs for Mahomes and then Kittle for A-Chain. I had Cousins. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I think you won both of those deals pretty handily, to be honest. Like, as much as I love Jahmyr Gibbs, I would still take the quarterback upside that Patrick Mahomes represents. And then as much as I love George Kittle, like, Devon A-Chain just replicates that same elite upside that you just traded away with Gibbs. Only I think he's even better because he's on that Miami Dolphins offense. So, yeah. This is where we left off. Stafford or Howell, 12-team PPR. Give me Stafford there, Dan. Give me Stafford. Canelo, appreciate that. He says traded Ford MT for Ridley and then Mixon and Hollywood for Waddle and a half PPR. Did I overpay for the second? I'm strong at running back, but needed some help at wide receiver. It's like, I guess you could say like you are giving up a decent bit, but I definitely want the Waddle side there on that second deal. The first deal, obviously, I would much prefer Calvin Ridley to the other side, but I would also actually prefer Jalen Waddle, in my opinion, to both Hollywood and Mixon. So give me both of your packages there, Canelo. Let me just find where we left off. Okay. Maximus, he says Gabe Davis or Drake London half PPR, Craig Reynolds or Elijah Mitchell if CMC is out half PPR. For the first question, I believe I have Drake London a little bit higher. Let me just take a look. By the way, these wide receiver rankings are going to be dropping for you guys tomorrow, so stay tuned. Maybe at like 1 or 2 p.m. or so, depending when the editing comes done. So we got Drake London at 22, and we got, what's the other one? Gabe Davis. We got Gabe Davis at 30 this week. So, 31 this week. So give me Drake London there, Maximus. DJ Moore, Drake London, Roshan Johnson, Jerome Ford in the flex this week. I have Drake London the highest amongst the wide receivers, and overall, I would go with Drake London there. Price. Go with Drake London there. All right, Jonathan. Hope you're having a good evening so far. Traded Olave and Gibbs for Ayuk and A-Chain. Yeah, I like your side here. It's relatively close for the most part because, I mean, Olave versus Ayuk I've been fighting on, and technically speaking, in my rest of the season, it says that Olave is higher. But the more that I think about it, I think I'm actually going to raise Brandon Ayuk quite significantly. His peripherals right now are absolutely money. He's playing on one of the top 3 offenses in the NFL. So, real talk, man, just give me Brandon Ayuk over Chris Olave rest of the season. In terms of the second part, Gibbs versus A-Chain, it's relatively close because obviously A-Chain's dealing with that injury, but I trust A-Chain's ability to win you your league, especially if you're in a, 5-1, 4-2, 6-0 scenario. I trust A-Chain down the stretch to be able to win your league more than I do Jahmyr Gibbs. So I would actually prefer the Ayuk and A-Chain side there. Hey, what's up, Jim Puck? What's up? Starting Gibbs and Pacheco, my RB slots, Hawkinson, my tight end. Pick 2 of 3. Okay, so you changed the question a little bit. I would still go with Sam Laporta there, Benjamin. Kenneth Walker 3 has the best matchup this week. 7, dude. Yeah, he's got a good matchup for the most part. I think I have him ranked as my RB4 overall this week. I do, or RB3 overall, actually. I do like his matchup a lot against Arizona. So I do think he's a strong RB1 level start. Also, KJ Osborne or Gabe Davis. You already asked that, I believe, but I said Gabe Davis. Trevor Lawrence or should I stream cards? Still go with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence to Sam Powell. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Full PPR, okay. I hope McCole Hardman gets to be a wide receiver 1 now on Chiefs. Now, dudes, was the Saints. Yeah, no, I agree with you there, Josh. Sorry, I just had a brain fart reading it, but I agree with you. Wandale Robinson or James Cook, full PPR. Give me James Cook there, Ryan. Edwards or Algier for RB2. Relatively close. Let me just take a look. Sorry, a fly flew in my face. I have Gus Edwards as my RB37, and I have Tyler Algier as my RB32. So give me Tyler Algier there, Jeff. If you need a second quarterback with Richardson going out, who would you target? In terms of the streaming range, it's kind of tough, but if you can get your hands on, I mean, I'm assuming like Jared Goff types, Matthew Stafford types, those type of guys are probably locked up in your league, but maybe you can swing on maybe like a Baker Mayfield I don't hate at all. Someone like that I think is a pretty good streaming option, so I would go with that. Wandale Robinson or Elijah Moore. I believe I have Wandale a little bit higher, but let me take a look for you here, JH. I have Wandale at 42, and I have Elijah Moore at 49 this week. So yeah, give me Wandale. Go with Edwards. I have 3 quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray. Yeah, that's a really good trio there. Do we have any confidence Jamal tonight? Confidence, not really, but if you're absolutely desperate, he's not the worst play, I would say there, Caleb. Traded CD for Hurts. Thoughts? I'm not gonna lie, I would have just kept CD Lamb. Kind of feels like you're selling low at this point. Obviously, he's gotten off to a relatively slow start, but he's still an elite talent in the position. He's still going to get targets for the rest of the season. I do think he can score a couple touchdowns moving forward, which he's really not been able to do this year, hence the bad start. So I personally would have went CD Lamb. I understand that you had Average hurt, but I would have rather moved somebody else to go patch the quarterback position personally there, Cade. I'm starting Shaheed, Saints wide receiver tonight. Yeah, good luck there, Josh. Trade Kamara for Higgins and Stevenson, half PPR all day. Give me Higgins and Stevenson there, Andy. Love or Howell this week? Let me take a look who I have higher between Love and Howell. So Jordan Love I have as my quarterback 14, and Sam Howell I have as my quarterback 12. So actually give me Sam Howell there, Josh. In first and lost, A-Rich, only quarterback target on tanking teams is Burrow. What draft capital would you add on A-Rich to get to Burrow? I mean, it might be, it's kind of tricky. I would be willing to go a first and maybe a first and a second, but the problem is you might be asked like if you would give up 2 1s, and 2 1s feels a little bit rich, but yeah, see how cheap you can get that YouTube. But if he asked for, let's say, A-Rich a first and a second, I'd be willing to do that. Traded projected late first and a projected mid second for DK. Thoughts? Half PPR. Pretty strong package. If you're contending, I don't mind it, but in a vacuum, I probably would take the draft capital. But this is a relatively fine valuation for him, in my opinion. Keep Kamara. He going to be I disagree there. Personally, I would just rather trade him off now, because we don't know how that backfield is going to look with Jamal Williams. You don't know how that backfield is going to look once Kendra Miller gets acclimated. And for the most part, I just don't really trust the Saints to make him a top 8 level option. Sorry, AJ Dillon, Sutton, or Rashid Shaheed full PPR. Give me Cortland Sutton there, Tyler. Curtis Samuel's on fire. Jacoby Myers is on fire. Yes, sir. Jeffrey Wang. Okay, you answering a question. Ridley or Pittman in the flex standard. Give me Calvin Ridley there, John. Bye week, yes, sir. I traded Jefferson, Elijah Moore for Olave and Downs. Any thoughts? It's kind of tricky. I would say that I would probably take your side of the package in a vacuum, but at the same time, it's just so tough to deal with exactly what's going on with Justin Jefferson right now. Like, is he going to come back in 4 weeks? Is he going to miss the rest of the season? I don't know. So I don't mind if you're going to trade out of him, getting a guy with some elite upside with Chris Olave. Tutu Atwell, Jaden Reed, or Jahan Dotson in the flex all seem equally terrible. Yeah, it's a pretty tough decision. I might plug my nose and go Dotson, but I really don't like it at all, Mark. Sit one, Josh Palmer versus KC, Curtis Samuel versus New York Giants, or Jordan Addison versus San Francisco. I believe I have Curtis Samuel ranked the lowest out of this, but again, it's relatively close. So I have Jordan Addison the highest amongst them with my wide receiver 30. Then I have Curtis Samuel's my wide receiver 39, and I have Josh Palmer at my wide receiver 37. So the one I would say would be Curtis Samuel, but I don't really feel great about it. Eagles DST or Jags DST. So the Jags against the Saints. The Eagles play Miami. I don't want to start the Eagles against Miami. I would go with the Jaguars. They're passive. I traded Waddle for Ayuk. I still feel uneasy about it. They're relatively same range for me. Honest to God, they're probably like back-to-back for me in terms of where I would rank them rest of the season. So it's all personal preference at that point. Where do we leave off? Sorry, my apologies. There. I mentioned Chris Godwin because Mike Evans will get it all, in my opinion. It depends who you're benching him for. I still have Chris Godwin as a strong wide receiver 2 option. You trade James Cook in London for Mark Andrews and Pickens in a non-PPR league. I would go with Mark Andrews and Pickens, assuming you don't have a good tight end option. Who do the Cowboys go for at the deadline? This is a good question. I've heard some rumors about maybe like a Jerry Jeudy type. I think the 2 types of positions that they will be attacking pretty heavily would be at wide receiver, given how Michael Gallup's been to start the year, and cornerback. I've been hearing some rumors of them potentially being in the cornerback discussion. So got like Jalen Johnson from the Bears makes a ton of sense. Obviously, the pipe dream is maybe you get a Patrick Surtain, but I personally just don't see why the Broncos would move on for him. But I mean, if I'm going to be like a biased Cowboys fan, yeah, in my opinion, the Cowboys trade their first and the second for Patrick Surtain at the deadline. That would be fun. That would be fun. I have Mark Andrews at tight end. Yeah, fair. Would you start Geno or T-Law? I believe I actually have Geno higher this week. It's relatively close. I have, let me take a look. Trevor Lawrence at 9 and Geno at 7. So yeah, give me Geno there, Brock. Every time I sit a guy coming off a bad week with a tough matchup, they end up going off. Ridley gets 100 yards and a touchdown tonight. Definitely possible. Yeah, I don't want to trade for Derrick Henry, to be honest. If you're talking about the Cowboys, it's just the cost is going to be too high, and you're already paying the running back position like $13-14 million combined this year. So for me personally, I would rather allocate those funds to go attack like a cornerback, go attack. Maybe you want to add a linebacker. Maybe you want to add, a wide receiver. Like those are the positions that I would personally prefer to attack. Obviously, Derrick Henry would be a monster in the backfield, but I feel like the reason why we haven't been able to run the ball has more so been to the scheme and more so been to the offensive line play rather than specifically to Tony Pollard. Now, do I think Tony Pollard's been playing as well as he was last year? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I do think the situation around him isn't quite as good. How do you feel about T-Law now that he is active? Saints D is scary. It definitely is scary, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence is scary in his own right. I have him as a fringe top 10 level option, but I understand if somebody's more pessimistic on him. Traded Zach Moss for Christian Watson, W or L, big W. Give me Christian Watson there all day, Adam. Hope Josh Allen gets me 42 against Patriots, weak injured defense in week 7. You and I, the same there. I have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs in my home league, so hopefully they can just, absolutely pick up on the New England Patriots this week. Got a super here from Carlos. He says, K9 for Bijan. Thoughts on Kyler Murray rest of the season? I personally would prefer Bijan Robinson, but I do think that K9's probably vaulted himself into that mid-range RB1 status moving forward. But with that being said, give me Bijan Robinson. In terms of Kyler rest of the season, I think he's a fringe top 15 level option. If you've been streaming the position all year, this is your lottery ticket to potentially get, top 5, top 8 level production. So I definitely, again, if you're weak at quarterback, would be going after Kyler Murray and just stashing him for the time being. Where do we leave off here? I believe we left off at Cats. Start T-Law tonight or pick up Stafford, Geno, or Howell. I have Geno higher, but assuming you have to burn a bench spot to put T-Law on it, I would just rather prefer starting T-Law. However, if you have the bench spot to be able to afford that, I don't mind putting Geno in your lineup because I do have him higher. Thoughts on Christian Kirk rest of the season? I think he's a solid wide receiver 2 option. Not the highest ceiling on a week-to-week basis, but at the same time, his level of involvement has given him a steady floor. Like he's a lock for 12 to 17 points. It kind of feels like every single week. Shaheed tonight, I think he's going to be solid. Top 45-ish level play there, Gregory. 10-team full PPR. Who should I start for RB1, RB2, and flex? Etienne Kamara, Aaron Jones, Hollywood, or Christian Kirk? Thanks. Wow, you got a good situation there. So you have to start 3 of these guys. Etienne's a lock for my lineup, so he's my clear number 1. Alvin Kamara and Aaron Jones would probably be my next 2. I'd just go with the 3 running backs there, G. Saints wide receiver. Yeah. No, I don't agree there, but I do think he is a good wide receiver. Trade Chase and Brees for Higgins and Bijan on my team wide receivers. Honestly, I would just keep Chase and Brees there, Dillip. Gabe Davis or Calvin Ridley. Give me Calvin Ridley there, Brandon. I need running back and a flex. JT, Moss, Ford, London, and Watson. Am I crazy to consider Ford and Watson? Definitely would not go with those 2. The one I for sure would go with would be Jonathan Taylor. And if this is a PPR league, like you say below, I would actually go with Drake London as the second option there. Go pack. Might have to play Julius. What's it called? Justice Hill, full PPR. What's your ranking? I currently have Justice Hill ranked as my... Where do I have him? I have him as my RB25 this week. It looked like he ceded the majority role this past week against Gus Edwards. So I think he's a fine, streaming level option. Damian Pierce or Hollywood Brown and a half PPR. I would probably just go Hollywood Brown there, Michael, to be honest. Any tight end stashes if I'm looking through the position? I mean, Michael Mayer's a main one. If he's available in your league, I would definitely stash Michael Mayer. I think he's going to be a stud down the stretch. I don't mind... if you're talking about pure stash, you're looking for just straight upside, I'm assuming. So Dalton Kincaid, while he hasn't been good to start this year, represents lottery ticket level upside. So I definitely would stash him if you're weak at the tight end position. So those are the main 2, Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid. And I also really like Luke Musgrave if he's available in your league. I think he'd be a fine option as well. Start Stevenson, James Cook, or Zach Evans. Definitely Ramondre. Oh no, I have James Cook higher. Sorry, I was looking at Zach Evans. I would have James Cook at 14, Ramondre at 17, both higher than Zach Evans. So I'd go with James Cook there, Christian. We trade Waller for Stroud and then trade Godwin and Deshaun for Nico Collins. I don't mind that. If you have another tight end option and you could afford that, I think it's decent. Now the upgrade from Godwin to Nico isn't that huge, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it's relatively close. So who would be your tight end option if you did this, JH? Full PPR flex, Brian Robinson or Drake London. I'd probably go Brian Robinson there, but they're very close. I have Brian Robinson pretty high in my running back rankings this week. RB15 against the Giants. Yeah, he should be locked and loaded in that situation, unless you're facing Laporta. Lockett or Flowers this week? Thank you. They're relatively close to my rankings. I think I've said that. I mean, have a drink every time I say that, but when I'm looking at it, Tyler Lockett's at 20 and Zay Flowers is at 21, Christian. Full PPR, start Drake London or Curtis Samuel. Give me Drake London there, Christian. There's a lot of Christians in the chat, by the way. Shout out. Is Gibbs a hold or a sell right now? I would definitely hold him and see what he does this week at the very least. If he has a big week, then you might even have a bigger selling window if you need to. Or again, you could just hold because I do think he's the type of player that can see his value increase moving forward. Hope A-Chain heals fast and good because I got him, LOL. Yeah, I mean, he looked phenomenal in those first few weeks prior to that injury, so hopefully he can look like that same player. Gus Edwards, Deontay Foreman, or Jordan Mason? This is tricky. Now, if Roschon Johnson plays, I think the answer would for me would be Jordan Mason. If Roschon Johnson is inactive for this game, I would go with Deontay Foreman there, Pete. Do I start Thomas over Pickens? I think I have George Pickens higher. Let me take a look for you there, Madden MWG. So George Pickens versus Michael Thomas. Yeah, I have George Pickens higher. I have George Pickens right now as my wide receiver 29. Mike Thomas is my wide receiver 34 there, Madden. What's up, my guys? Start Love or Howell. Not trusting Kirk anymore. And should I start Javonte Williams over Gabe Davis at flex? Have a good one. Appreciate that, Gustavo. In terms of the first question, I believe I have Sam Howell ranked higher than Jordan Love. So give me Sam Howell. Is that Kirk as in Kirk Cousins, or is that Kirk as in Christian Kirk? Because if that's Kirk Cousins, it's going to be tough against San Francisco. So yeah, I probably would go with Howell over him. I actually have him one spot higher. In terms of this one, should I start Javonte Williams over Gabe Davis at the flex? I would need to know the scoring here. If it's a half PPR, I probably would lean, honestly, in a half or a full PPR, I might just go Gabe Davis regardless. Give me Gabe Davis there. High upside. High upside in the flex there all day. Where do we leave off? We left off at Madden. Where's Madden here? Sorry, just a moment. I'm trying to cycle through chat. There. Cowboys need to get Jonathan Taylor ASAP. I just don't want to give up the capital because you're going to have to, I mean, he's already signed to a long-term contract. So I don't even think he's a movable contract at this point. So I just don't think it's going to happen. Would you rather Mike Evans or Calvin Ridley? I actually have Mike Evans ranked higher this week. I have Mike Evans ranked as my wide receiver 13. Calvin Ridley as my wide receiver 15, Jake. You think it's okay to start Hunt? I don't think it's a terrible option. Now, if I'm looking at my running back rankings, Kareem Hunt's currently my RB24. So you might have a better option, but realistically, like if you're between like Kareem Hunt, Najee Harris, Craig Reynolds, Antonio Gibson, just give me Kareem Hunt there, Max. Hunter Foreman. See, this is tricky right now. I have Hunt higher for the time being, but that's assuming Roschon Johnson plays. If Roschon Johnson doesn't play, I will be raising Deontay Foreman relatively higher in my rankings. I probably would have him over Kareem Hunt in that instance. JT or Gibbs in a full PPR? I have JT ranked as my RB13 because he goes up against Cleveland, and I have Jahmyr Gibbs ranked at 11, assuming he's ready to go and knowing the status of Craig Reynolds for the time being. So if you have to ask me right now, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. But if any changing variables happen by Sunday, the answer could fully well be Jonathan Taylor. I'm just kind of docking Jonathan Taylor right now because it's a very tough matchup against that Cleveland Browns defense. Of course, Kareem Hunt is doing good, dude, in my opinion. Yeah, he's a good dude, all right. Who should I sit this week? Gibbs, Ford, or Taylor? You're sitting Jerome Ford there, E. Johnson. Ridley, Rashid, or Deontay. Not sure if I want to start Ridley this week. You have to start Ridley. The answer is Calvin Ridley there, Tyrell. Given that I'm still starting Cup, Ridley, and Saquon on my wide receivers and flex, it's half PPR. Does that justify that CD for Hurts trade? To a degree, but at the same time, it's like CD would probably be my he wouldn't probably. He would definitely be my number 2 option of those guys. So it does validate it to a certain degree because Hurts obviously gives you an elite advantage at quarterback. But at the same time, I just think CeeDee Lamb is a better player in a vacuum for a 1 quarterback league, personally. I'm going to have a sip and then answer the rest. Who'd you take out of Addison, Lockett, or Kirk this week? I believe I have Kirk the highest, so I'd actually go with Christian Kirk there, E. Nelson. Mike Evans, Ridley, Puka, Christian Watson. In order, the way I would rank these guys is Puka, Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley, Christian Watson, Jake. Traded Addison, Hunt, and Curtis Samuel for Devontae Smith in the second. How did I do? I think that's fair. I would rather have Devontae Smith over Addison in a vacuum, and I would prefer the second to Hunt and Samuel. So I really like your side there, Diego. Ridley, Jacoby, or McLaurin. Which one do I sit this week? Out of these options, I would sit Terry McLaurin, their passive income. Yes, sir. I'm a big guy there, Chell. I'm a big guy. I'm a big man. I got a nice big workout in today. It was fun. Ridley or Watson this week? I would go with Calvin Ridley there, Luca. Pick 2, Ridley, Kirk, Evans, or Hollywood. I would have Evans, and then whichever of the Jaguars wide receivers you prefer, I would have Ridley higher, but this is honestly a personal preference because they're back-to-back in my rankings, Dub. I trade Aaron Jones and Lamb for Taylor and Kirk. I already have Ayuk, Adams, and Nakua. Good trade. That's relatively close. I probably like it from a process standpoint because I like moving off an older running back, but at the same time, I think I would prefer Lamb as the number 1 player in this deal. But again, in a vacuum, I think it's fair enough to the point where if you prefer Taylor and Kirk, I don't mind that. I'm starting 49ers defense. That's a good defense to start there, Josh. Zay Flowers or Drake London PPR. I have Zay Flowers at 21 and Drake London at 22. So I would go with Zay Flowers there, Peter. JT or Gibbs in full PPR this week. I have Gibbs higher for the time being, but that's based off the news we right now know about Craig Reynolds. But like if that changes, if Craig Reynolds is ready to go in this game, he's got no setbacks, or if Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, is dealing with this hamstring injury, then it would be Jonathan Taylor at that point. So re-ask that on Sunday, and I'll have a better answer for you, Jared. Start Christian Kirk, DJ Moore PPR. Give me Christian Kirk there, Isa. McLaurin versus Ridley half PPR. Thanks. I would go with Calvin Ridley there, Dan. Mayer, yep. Just traded Dalvin Cook and Javonte Williams for Burrow. Good trade. Like if you need a quarterback, I don't think that's bad. I think Dalvin Cook's pretty much worthless. So it just depends. If you had running backs to expend, I don't mind going after Joe Burrow. Start 1, Luke Musgrave or Kyle Pitts, PPR. Give me Kyle Pitts there, Anthony. If Burrow can stay healthy, yeah, absolutely. Over under 10.35 half PPR points for Ridley tonight. I would lean the over, but at the same time, like it hasn't been inspiring thus far. I think he's a good enough player to hit the over here, but recent trend is the only real concern I have for Calvin Ridley, because I mean the process here is that he's got a number 1 alpha role for the Jacksonville Jaguars, an offense that we expect to be good on a week-to-week basis. So start Ridley tonight over Josh Palmer, Gabe Davis. I would have him number 1 out of that group there, Steven. Wow, nice tip, dude. Appreciate that. Justice Hill or Jordan Mason full PPR. I think I have Justice Hill higher, but let me double check for you. Yeah, I have Justice Hill ranked higher here. Give me Justice Hill there. Kirk Cousins, yes, sir. Olave or Ayuk PPR. If this is a start-sit decision, I would go with Brandon Ayuk. If this is a rest of season, they're like back-to-back for me. So if this is a start-sit, give me Ayuk. Where should I go after in trades if I were to package Garrett Wilson and Christian Watson? Are you trying to consolidate? Because if you're trying to consolidate, I'd maybe go see if that can get you up to like CeeDee Lamb and you can get maybe even a little piece back. That's the type of move I'd be looking to do. Pick 2, Ridley, Jacoby, McLaurin this week, PPR. I would sit McLaurin out of this passive income. Would you trade Ridley for Ayuk? I think I would rather have Ayuk rest of the season. I'm going to have to make that adjustment in my rest of the season, but if I'm doing it right now, I currently had Brandon Ayuk at 15, but the more I think about it, man, I'm going to raise him to 12. So he's going to be right behind Jalen Waddle and Puka Nacua for me, respectively. So if you have access to my rankings, the next update of those rest of the season, I will have Brandon Ayuk ranked higher. People are focused on the wrong Colts running back to Dallas. Oh, God. If we trade for Zach Moss, I would cry. We got a comment here, super chat from Carlos. Rest of the season, Browns or Cowboys defense, Cousins or Burrow. This is close, man. I trust the Browns defense rest of the season because I think they're a better real life defense, and that's as unbiased as I possibly can be. Now, the question here is that Dallas is going to take the ball away more, which is my only real cause of concern, because you got the factor that the Browns already had their bye and the Cowboys are having it this week. I'd prefer the Browns, but I think you can make the argument these are the top 2 defenses in fantasy football. In terms of this second question, I would go with Joe Burrow out of these options, Carlos. Now, where did we leave off? We left off at, I believe, Brock, if I can find him. Oh, no, where is he? Sorry, just some apologies. There's a lot of NFL teams that are 1-5. Yeah, I mean, everybody's tanking for the quarterbacks in this class, it feels like. Addison, DJ Moore, Kirk, or London, if you're benching one. I mean, Addison would be the guy I bench out of these. What a core that you have. Can you try to consolidate with that, Casey? 4-2, 12-team standard PPR. What moves for running back this week in the future? Mike running backs are Kyron, Foreman, Reynolds, Justice Hill. Free agent running backs are Freeman, Ingram, Singletary, bye. Wide receiver core, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's nothing I would recommend for this week in particular because I think the options you have are better than the free agent running backs, but I would definitely look to see maybe after this week, depending on how Reynolds and Justice Hill and Deontay Foreman do, maybe you go drop one of them for Devin Singletary after his bye. Please, I really need help. I'm 4-2. Mate just asked me to give him Etienne Laporta and Amari Cooper for Justin Jefferson and Brees. Wide receiver to be Devontae. 10 league, I'm dominating. Now, do you have another tight end if you trade Laporta? That's the only holdup I have because if you have another tight end, then I'm absolutely going after Jefferson and Brees here. But that's close, man. That's close. I probably hold knowing that Laporta is just such a big needle mover, to be honest. Trade Deontay Foreman, Judy, and Rashad White for Miles Sanders and Pittman, W or L. I probably want... This is kind of gross. I don't really like Miles Sanders, but at the same time, I don't really like Deontay Foreman or Rachaad White either. If you view the upgrade from Judy to Pittman as a big one, I think I would rather have Pittman there, Saul. Jalen Warren or Craig Reynolds PPR. Give me Jalen Warren there, Scott. Was offered Hawk and Kirk for Waddle and Kincaid. I take that, right? I think I want Waddle, to be honest, man. That process probably is Hawkinson and Kirk if you need the depth, but honestly, I kind of want the hammer here. I want Jalen Waddle. I think he's got the opportunity to win me the most matchups. Zach Evans or Javonte Williams, full PPR. Give me Javonte there, Larry. Zach Evans, Johnson, or Foreman. Assuming Roschon Johnson's ready to go, I would go with Roschon Johnson, Jonathan. Make sure to smash the like button, folks, and send this video to your friends and family. Appreciate that, Josh. And be like Josh, 97 of you people in here, I want to see at least 50 likes on the stream. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that like button. It helps us a lot in that YouTube algorithm. Next question here we got from Christian. He says, Dynasty question. Should I trade Fields for a first? It's super flex. Now, the question is, where does that first project? I would really need a lot more information there. Is that a mid-range first? Because if it's a mid-range first in a super flex, I probably take it. If it's a late, I'm just going to hold Justin Fields. But if it's a mid-range first, I think I would go and be willing to trade Justin Fields for that. So our Tampa Bay or Saints defense this week. So we got the Saints against the Jaguars, and we got the Buccaneers. Let me just take a look. Who do they play off my head? Chris Godwin. They play Atlanta. So I would actually go with Tampa Bay that this week there, Brandon. DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, or Addison, full PPR wide receiver 2. I have Zay Flowers ranked the highest of this nuke. Anytime there, Steven. Anytime, brother. Taysom Hill or Luke Musgrave. Give me Luke Musgrave, Christian. Trade Laporta for Devontae Smith straight up. Conflicted thoughts. I think that's a relatively fair deal, but assuming you have a solid tight end option, I don't mind moving Laporta for Devontae Smith. Would you start Warren, Javonte, or McLaughlin this week? I believe I have Javonte ranked the highest, but let me just take a look for you. So I have Javonte Williams as my RB20. Oh, no, that's rest of the season. Okay. Let me see weekly rankings. My apologies. So this week, I have Javonte Williams ranked the highest at number 16 there, Jimmy. Najee or Zeke Elliott this week, PPR. I would go with Najee there, passive. Got offered T. Higgins for Drake London in a full PPR. I would go T. Higgins, but I mean, like the way Drake London's been playing, I got to give him his flowers, but I personally would prefer T. Higgins there. RB2, Moss or Zach Evans, half PPR, need to drop the other. I would go Zach Evans, personally. I don't want to drop Zach Moss. Are you able to consolidate maybe? Can you do a 2-for-1 somewhere? Because I wouldn't want to drop him, but at the same time, I would prefer Zach Evans this week. Got offered T. Higgins for Drake London, a full PPR. I believe you just asked that. Was it you? Or did I just read it? No, I just read it. Okay. I just read it. I would prefer T. Higgins, though. Sam Howell, decent play. Yeah, he's top 12 option for me. Lawrence or Stafford and Keontae Ingram, Zeke, Justice Hill, or Latavius Murray. Damn injuries got me. In terms of the running backs, I'd probably go Justice Hill and Ezekiel Elliott. In terms of the quarterbacks, I have Trevor Lawrence higher there, Armando. Standard Olave tonight or Watson versus the horrible Broncos pass defense. I personally would still go with Chris Olave, but I understand the allure given how the Broncos have played this year, but I would still go with Olave. Just like your stream. Appreciate that, Armando. Appreciate that. Should I drop Warren for Spears? Relatively flat move. If you're able to, I would try to drop someone else, but honest to God, in a vacuum, I probably would just rather have Tajay Spears. Appreciate all you guys for hitting the likes. Appreciate that a lot. Helps us a lot. Wilson or Lawrence this week. Assuming this is Russell Wilson, I would take Trevor Lawrence there, Erica. Godwin or Christian Kirk, known PPR. And a no PPR, I mean, they're both kind of PPR beneficiaries. I would have Christian Kirk higher regardless. So give me Christian Kirk there, Casey. Thoughts on Trevor Lawrence tonight? Relative, top 10 level option. Got to dock him a little bit because obviously he's dealing with that injury, but I still think he should be able to do his thing. Raiders defense or Browns? This is the Browns defense all day, Nuke. They're a defense I'm just simply not sitting. Love how you're hammering these out, Danny. Well done. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm trying to get to as many as possible for you guys. Obviously, like I said, gonna have to sign off at 8 p.m. because I'm gonna have somebody over for the game, and I also got to make sure that my lineups are fully set for Thursday Night Football. So, I'll try to get to as many as I can by 8 p.m. Any sleeper quarterbacks this week? So, assuming by sleeper, like Sam Howell, I guess you would consider in there. Jared Goff, I don't know if he meets that, but I really like Jared Goff. Matthew Stafford, if he's somehow available, I really like Matthew Stafford. Obviously, I'm assuming like Brock Purdy's probably owned in your league, but if he is available, goes up against Minnesota on Monday Night Football, so I definitely would pick him up. Aside from that, like I don't mind Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, Josh Dobbs. I don't hate against the Seahawks. Like there's a lot of options, to be honest, Nuke. Javonte, Michael Thomas, or Zach Evans at flex this week. I would go with Javonte Williams there, DSV. Dynasty Superflex question: would you give up Zach Wilson a second and a third for DK Metcalf as a contender? I would do that in a heartbeat there, Ethan. Give me DK. Yo, Chad, what's good? Anyone getting forced? Yeah, no. I'm going to have to experience that in the league as well there, Michael. Bijan or ETN, 2023 rest of the season. I would still prefer Bijan, but I think Travis Etienne's pretty much put his name into that tier, in my opinion. I think Travis Etienne at this point should be viewed as a top 5 running back rest of the season. However, I would still go with Bijan. Hawk and Kirk guy here. I have Tyreek, Puka, Watson, Jacoby, in addition to Waddle, Ferguson, in my tight end. Figure getting an elite tight end and solid wide receiver for Waddle is worth it. Yeah, okay. I don't mind that then. If Ferguson's your tight end, I don't mind going down to Hawk and Kirk here, K. Meyer. So I appreciate the context there. I actually don't mind that deal at all. I pick Saints this week to beat the Jaguars because Trevor Lawrence is 100%. I don't mind that there, Josh. I don't mind that pick. Choose 2 half PPR: Adams, Waddle, Ridley, or Myers. By the way, crazy question. You have a lot of depth on this team, Justine, but I actually would go with Devontae Adams and Jalen Waddle. It's a little bit tricky, obviously, with Devontae Adams dealing with that AC joint sprain in his shoulder, but at the same time, he seems relatively frustrated with his usage. Seems like he feels like he's healthy. He can get that Devontae Adams level usage moving forward, and although you're dealing with the backup quarterback there, he's still, in my opinion, by far the most talented option here. So I would go with Adams and Waddle there. Christian Kirk or Nico Collins rest of the season PPR. I still would go with Nico Collins, but I think Christian Kirk has proven that he's in that tier. Start London or Watson this week. Relatively close. I have Drake London as my wide receiver 22, and I have Christian Watson as my wide receiver 25. So give me Drake London there, Michael. Should I sell Adam Thielen? And if so, who should I be targeting? Adam Thielen's currently my wide receiver 18 rest of the season. I think he's really proven himself as a stud. If you can package with Adam Thielen, maybe you have an Alexander Madison type, you can package Adam Thielen plus Alexander Madison and try to move up to like a CeeDee Lamb who's kind of been underperforming this year. That's the type of move I would be willing to do. Jordan Love, that's another option. I have him as a top 15 level quarterback this week. Pick 2 wide receivers: Josh Reynolds, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kendrick Bourne, or Romeo Doubs in PPR. Honestly, I'm probably going with Wan'Dale Robinson and Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne's very interesting because he had that big game where he played about 90% of the snaps in week 1, had 3 straight weeks where he only had about 50 to 55% of the snaps. The last 2 weeks, he's seen his full role and the targets have come. If Kendrick Bourne can get that level of snap share that he's been seeing these last few weeks, I think he'd be a locked-in top 40 option moving forward. So honestly, I think my answer here is just going to be Wan'Dale Robinson and Kendrick Bourne. Michael, full ready to... Yeah, amen. Kyler Murray coming back soon, man. Yeah, bro, he's gonna be fun, especially if you punted the quarterback position. Pick a defense: Raiders, Jags, or Bucks. I'm probably leaning the Bucks here, but I don't feel great about it, to be honest. I'd probably go with the Bucks there, though, Christian. Hoyer, Badgett, or Minshew. Lost all my quarterbacks. I would go with Minshew there, just one. Let's get it. Love you, Danny Priso. Appreciate you for hopping in here, Rob. Appreciate that. You're underrating Zach Moss from a real-life perspective. He's looked really good. He's looked good, but to be fair, you guys are great as the number 5 run-blocking offensive line according to PFF. So I think it's just the situation's meeting. He's playing good football, and unless it's like, a 6th-round pick for Zach Moss in the 7th, I just kind of don't want to give up capital, to be honest. Dynasty Taylor owner should be trading away Zach Moss or holding. Definitely should be trading away Zach Moss right now because he's looked good. And like Brock said, he's looked good. And obviously he's coming off a big high from a point standpoint. Jonathan Taylor's going to get mass minutes, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. What should I try and get for Kyron in Dynasty? This is the bad time to sell him, to be honest. I would just kind of wait to see when he comes back on the field, because once he comes back on the field, I think you should be able to get at least an early to mid-second in terms of compensation. Lost Jefferson, but I have Kupp and Puka and Waddle. Just start all 3 or find a sub for Puka. I'm just starting all 3. I think Puka is going to be a stud in his own right as well. Like everyone wants Kyler Murray to play. Yeah, I hope he plays too, man. He's a talented player. These are the last few questions, by the way. It is currently 8 p.m., so I will just get through these and sign off here. All right, boys, take it easy. Have a good one. Go Ridley. Catch you later, Danny. Much love. Appreciate you for tuning in there, Michael. Quick, St. Brown, Addison, Puka, Olave, PPR. Who's the odd man out? Addison is the odd man out here, in my opinion. Clayton. Later, Michael. Let's go Ridley. 3 tutties. Let's hope so, Gio. Let's hope so. Half PPR, choose one. I have Laporta, but can pick up Musgrave, Logan Thomas, Muth, Ertz, or Everett, not dropping Laporta. I would just rather start Laporta, to be honest. I think Laporta, until he proves otherwise, is a top 3 to 5 tight end in my rankings on a week-to-week basis. Obviously, this past week wasn't good for the most part. I had him in my home league. I believe he only had about 4 receptions, 35 yards, but the targets were there. He commanded 11 targets. Big figure in this offense, and I think he's the number 2 target after Amon St. Brown. And as we know, this Lions offense has been good so far. Has been good so far. So give me Sam Laporta. Scraping the bottom for a flex this week. Curtis Samuel, Rashid Rice for PPR. Give me Rashid Rice. No, my cousin's coming over, Brock, but thanks for that. Thanks for that imagery. Thanks, brother. Anytime there, Clayton. Thanks, bro. Best FF channel by far. Anytime there, Cameron. Thanks, man. Anytime there, Justine. Tip Top Show, sir. Thanks. Anytime there, Josh. Hit the like button, people. Have a great night all. Appreciate you guys. Again, the 79 in here right now. If you haven't already done so, I've been rambling my mouth for about an hour so far. 45 minutes. Have talked nonstop answering your guys' questions. If I answer your question, it's only fair if you guys leave a like down below. But with that being said, I'm going to sign off here after I answer these last two. Thomas or Shaheed, give me Michael Thomas. And Rice, Ridley, Jacoby, pick 2, please. You are sitting Rashid Rice. With that being said, peace out. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, whether you have affiliation with the Jaguars or the Saints, or you have some fantasy implications. Hope you guys have a great night of football. Take care.